Oh, hello, Speedy. What you doing there, Spooky? Where's Cleo? Are there boomers coming? Well, they've been coming every afternoon, haven't they? Yep, they have. And that's why we haven't been with our friends and family that often. No, we haven't. Oh, well, there you are, friends and family. So glad for you to drop on by today. As you can hear in the background, maybe you can tell we're either at war or there's a storm coming. And like most afternoons, this time of year, being mid-August, this is what happens. We have what's called those pop-up thunderstorms. Those massive thunderheads that just rise 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 feet into the atmosphere above our heads. Yeah. Yep, so it makes it difficult to be out and about. And then, of course, there's the heat. I think currently it's 94. Feels like 101. You know, I try not to look at that. I try not to care. I just come out here and do as I can do. You know, when things are in the shade, when things are cooler, early morning hours, or the late evening hours. The late evening hours are pretty tough because the mosquitoes like that time too. Yeah, but as you can hear, I'm competing with the storms in the heavens above. Well, maybe we got a few moments to walk about and talk about what we've still got growing, what our struggles have been, and what some of our successes have been as well. At least we'll give it a go. If you'd like to, come on, walk with me. Well, since we're here at the blueberries, we might as well just say they're pretty much wrapped up for the season. You can still find a couple of nice juicy berries on it, but you have to be careful because you might find some withered up and wrinkled ones that aren't too yummy. But we're going to be picking off the last of these probably tomorrow or Monday, 1 to 2 days, and we're going to be scattering them to the wilderness in hopes that one day these blueberries of mine will grow wild out there somewhere in the woods far beyond my property. It'll be a gift, I'm thinking. Yep, but when you can find a few still, they're still tasty. And over here in the south side garden bed, we got a lot of things going on. I still got to get this okra thinned out. And of course something's been eating on it, and I haven't been able to find out what. I was thinking it was army worms, because we've had those in other places. But I haven't seen them over here. But we're going to have to spray. But with this rain coming in every day, anywhere from 1 in the afternoon on up to 3 and 4 and beyond, it's a little difficult to spray anything to get after the insects. Now here, what you're seeing, this I'm quite familiar with, and that's spider mite damage. And they're little bitty tiny things, and you have to have a loupe or magnifying glass or something, but I assure you that they're on the back of this okra leaf. Yep. And they, oh, there, maybe you can see those little bitty tiny white and brown specks. That would be them. And they will suck the life out of these plants in a matter of days. And they're probably doing the same to our little tiny acorn squash here, which has a baby right there. I don't think it's going to be getting much bigger than that. But it does look like, oh, there you go. There's even more signs of the spider mites. You see those little round bubbles of plant sap? Yeah, that's a telltale sign of spider mites. So we got to get spraying. And I mean, there's many things you can spray. You can use insecticidal soap. That'll knock them down some. You can use neem oil. Yeah. You can use spinosad, or you can go the chemical route, and you can use malathion 7, such as that, or pyrethrum based. It's really not necessary, but if you want to and that's all you got, you can. You can see Tammy G over there Yep, she's completely dead. She died a fatal dose of root rot. The husky cherry tomato continues to grow and thrive. Of course, we do see some abnormalities in its leaves back here for whatever reason. And we've been having a lot of that this year. Abnormal leaves. Our volunteer cucumbers over here in the south side bed were still producing, but then they too have got something. The leaves are yellowing, and so is the fruit, i.e. the cucumbers. Something is attacking it. You see how yellow the fruit is? It sort of matches the leaves. Whatever it is, it'll be okay. We're pretty much cucumbered out. I've ate so many, and there's still probably 12 to 15 in the house still to go. So I'm not fretting this all too much. What is worrisome though, when we look at these beans, you're going to see they look sad. Not only are they wilted, they're losing a lot of their leaves. You can see how mottled the leaves are. Well, they got spider mites too. They got infested with them. And they were infested on the undersides before I even knew they were here. And with this shade cover and the lighting, I didn't notice it until it was nearly too late. They've got some beans on it, and we sprayed. I don't know if they'll recover and put on new leaves or not. I have seen them do that. We'll just have to wait and see. But this bed and the extreme heat and humidity has really suffered this year. It's next to that there white siding that reflects all the heat of the sun, as well as right here by this asphalt driveway that absorbs all the heat and remains so much hotter than it would be if all of this was somewhere planted on open ground. The collards have done well, though they have really wilted in the heat. Our straight neck yellow squash, it hadn't done anything. It just couldn't take the heat. We still got some kale in pots, looking mighty fine. And we got its cousin collard over there, doing as well too, in a nursery pot as well. Showing you, you can do collards, you can do kale in pots as well. And of course, we got our garlic chives we've had for all so long. Well, we might as well walk on out and check the tire planters, since it hasn't started to storm yet. What do you say? Because there's many changes out there as well. Yep, it looks a lot different, you might see. Well, we'll check in here with our another acorn squash. Here again, all these were volunteers that we transplanted out of our compost pile. Yeah, and this one too has one little small squash underneath its leaves. It's got more blossoms, and it hasn't started to vine yet. Who knows? Maybe it'll give more in time. Our one little transplant here of okra that all but died. Gotta give it credit. It's got a new tiny leaf on top. I wouldn't have thought it. And of course, this is a radish plant. Yeah, we threw some old radish seed down here just in case any of it took. Over here in what used to be, yeah, and still is, the kale forest, though it's looking rather sparse. Yep, it's had a lot of things. You can see right there. Yep, right there. More army worms. There was plenty of them until I sprayed earlier this day. You can see another one right there. And of course, it's still suffering from the bacterial wilt that affects its leaves. Pretty much nothing will stop it once the plant's infected. It's going to drop the older leaves. But if you still want kale to eat, you just grab the newer leaves before they're affected. It won't hurt you none. But yep, it's looking a little sparse. But you'll see something new down at ground level. You'll see all these tiny seedlings coming up, all brand new. Well, you also see some of those dead armyworms too, like right here. Here's one right here. Another one right there. Yeah. Like I said, we sprayed this morning a pyrethrum based chemical insecticide. I don't know why it's chemical, because it's actually made from chrysanthemums. I guess it's the processing that won't let them certify it as organic. Who knows? But these are the cherry bell radishes, and this seed was provided to us by Mary Catherine. Yes, it was. Way back in 2020. And still a lot of it's viable. You can see there's another of those armyworms. And there's another. And there's another. They were all over the kale. I mean, it's fighting for its life as it is. And there's the one hanging that just dropped off there. We also sprayed our okra, which is looking mighty fine. And it's now outgrew the kale that's over here as well. All of this was sprayed. Our okra transplants that we've been taking out of this tire planter and popping in here, all have survived and are doing fine. We got one more little one down in there that we're going to sneak out maybe tomorrow and add it over here. We're sort of going to go all the way on up a ways and add like a little fence, privacy fence you might say, of okra here on the south side of the property. But because of these constant thunderheads and pop-up showers, mowing has been rather tough to accomplish. We do what we can. About the time it gets dry in the afternoon, this happens again. Yeah, but you take what you got. I got the south side mowed, I think it was on Tuesday. This being Saturday. Yeah. And then I was going to mow this back in the north side lawn the next day. Couldn't do it because of the rains and the storms. Over here in the old raised bed, yep, the kitties love the timbers and they love to walk around and sharpen their nails. Right here is a row of cherry bell radishes, many of which are getting just right. That one's split, but that's okay. See, they're developing their roots. See them right down there? And there's more there. And of course, we eat their leaves as well. If you haven't ate your radish leaves, you should try them. They're rather swell. Hey, that rhymed. There's a cocoon, or it was. Now it's gone. And all of this bed was sprayed as well. And we've got some more radishes coming up. Our Swiss chard there. Our ruby red rhubarb Swiss chard was looking fine until here again the spider mites found it. Spider mites love luscious green veggies. Yes, they do. But these have been sprayed to hopefully knock them down too. You can see the difference in the leaves. See this one right here? Yep, that's just about had its life sucked out of it in comparison to this one right here. But this should recover since I sprayed it. And, you know, I mean, with this rain every day, you spray one day, it kills everything you have, but any eggs hatch or new ones land, you will have to spray again. It's like they say, pretty much a spray program, whether it's organic or not, depends on the weather. And here we've lost a, yep, that one's gone. Probably too much heat stress and too much spider mites. Just couldn't survive in this environment. But we've got a lot of new little onion plants coming up. They're hard to see, but they're pretty much everywhere. There's one right there. Another one right there. No, those are not weeds. See the one right here? And that's something that's important to note. You need to know what your veggies look like, or what you think is a weed will be a veggie, and what you think of is a veggie may be a weed. So familiarize yourself in all stages of growth of the veggies you're growing in your gardens. But yep, I planted a lot of radishes in here, but the seed was old. It was some from Burpee that I had also got for the 2020 season. And that's just one thing, you know, seed doesn't last forever. Remember that. Even if stored properly. Our volunteer cherry tomato, at least that's what we believe it'll be, since right here was where a husky cherry red tomato was planted last year. So we're thinking this one will be a cherry type husky red as well. I planted some kale in here from Haas, but that seed too was from 2020, and as far as I can tell, zero germination. So if I want some kale in the fall through the winter in early spring like last year, I'll either have to pick up some plants when they come available from Bonnie or order some more seed. Our onion patch is doing fine though, and so is our pepper and tomato patch. Yeah, they're up over my shoulders. As we'd say, they're nose high. And the army worms went after them too for a bit. You can see the damage right down here. Thankfully, I saw it in time, and I sprayed that evening to knock them all down. There's a lot of green tomatoes in there, and we got to tie these up again. I just tied them up. I think it was Monday. Yeah, they're growing like weeds. They love it right here. The peppers, all our Bonnie green bells. Whew. They got a lot of peppers on them, and they're starting to turn so we can see what we'll have. And here's something to note. Some of these may be red when they're ripe. Some may be yellow, orange, or even chocolate too. Like I'm thinking this one might be. All bell peppers start out green. What color they'll be, you'll only know when they ripen. But they're all looking fine. We've got an acorn squash starting to vine down the middle of the row between the peppers and the tomato row. And you can see that wind has been coming in from the northeast, and see how it's pushed these plants back on both this row and that row. Yeah, that wind has been extreme at times. We got these Acorns up here. Look at them acorn squash hiding down in there. And this is just the vine that runs all the way back over there. It climbed right over another acorn squash plant that's planted right here. You can see it's coming out of right there. There was 3 in a row. But this long vine here is from the one up there. The second one in the line. That was the first. This was the second. This was the third. And this was the fourth. Yeah, you can look back on our other garden walkabouts and see. See, that's a great thing about having a channel and videoing or documenting how you grow and what you grow as you grow. You can look back in time and see what you did and how it all came out. And you can see right up under there, there's a tomato, there's a tomato, there's a tomato, and trust me, there's way more down below. Whew, but we're not going to get all in there. No, we're not. And see, these are all bunched up. And they belong out over there. Like that. Yep, but there's nothing we can do about that. When that wind gets up 30, 40, 50, 60 mile an hour, it just compresses everything to the right. She's sounding mean to the north again. That's due north. And you can see the dark clouds as they descend down upon our head. Yep, tomatoes are looking fine. These are the celebrity. They're a determinate tomato. And they're doing quite fine. Yeah, they've struggled with some disease as well. We spray them for that. You got to. Unless you want to just let them go. Our humble little onion planting from Green Onion Ends is still hanging in there, though it has suffered mightily in the tremendous heat waves that we've had. This acorn squash here is just loaded with squash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there. And more coming as it starts to vine and head across the onions. And nothing I can do seems to deter it from where they want to go. I wanted them to climb over the pile, but they said no. Oh, and our flea, or not our flea, but our fly traps are doing marvelous. Yes, they are. And they've actually cut down the fly population amazingly around here. I've got 2 of them set out. They've been emptied now twice and reloaded with whatever it is that attracts the flies. Can't say enough good about these outdoor pop fly traps from the fine folks at Rescue. You can find them on Amazon or Walmart.com or Tractor Supply, where I got these a few weeks back. Our experiment of what decays faster, compost pile out in the outdoors, uncovered, or one in the magic box. You can see what this pile looks like and see what that one looks like too, though I must admit we've been throwing more in the box to feed our worms, and they come up at night. I'll have to come out here with a headband and a flashlight and show you all, or you'll never believe me. And as for the compost pile, it's alive. It's got cucumbers right here, trailing everywhere. Acorn squash right there. all throughout the center. Tomatoes over there. More tomatoes here. And more there. And somewhere here, there's still some onions hiding away. Though now they're lost in all the bounty that's growing. And this is all free. I picked several cucumbers off of this. Nope, I see a casualty. Yep, and I was noticing that. Right there. That vine has met its maker. We'll have to clip off that acorn squash. And what it looks like we got, for whatever reason, this late in the season, squash vine borers have found these acorn squash. Yes, they have. So, when we're done with our walkabout and talk about, I'll come back and grab that acorn squash. Well, that one there, something got a hold of it really good. Yeah, at least they're enjoying it. But we're gonna head it on over here and feed the worms. What a shame. But nothing truly goes to waste. We just put it in there and the worms will come and turn it into castings. No better fertilizer on the face of the earth. Yep, you will have casualties. Woo, I see we got a nice cucumber right there. Let's go ahead and grab it before something else decides to get it. That's a nice one. Didn't cost us a penny. But there's plenty of acorn squash still coming along, as there are tomatoes on our volunteer plants. I'm waiting for one to start to redden and ripen up to see what kind it is and will it be tasty or not. Plenty of blossoms, but not so much fruit. Now, if temperatures will start to lessen, more blossoms will set, thus more tomatoes will form. Yep, I mean, like I say, currently it's 94 with a war going on to the north. Now I can already tell these tomatoes here are much smaller and a different type. And you'll see out in there the holes all in the leaves. Yep, the army worms were having a feast. They no longer are. They lost the war. But these are going to be a smaller tomato. And if you look, they have ridges. And no, they're not ruffles. You know, ruffles have ridges. Yep. Looks like these tomatoes are going to have ridges. You know, like one of them Italian stuffing tomatoes that we've all seen. But that's what makes it so interesting. If you let volunteers grow, albeit in your compost pile, or you transplant and put them in your gardens to see what you got. It makes life interesting and makes gardening fun, because you never know what'll come about. And yeah, that is how many new varieties have come to be, just from accidental cross pollination and volunteers. That's the truth. Whew, the old clothesline pole planting area looks rather rough. You can see over here, we're going to see some beans. You're going to see them up throughout there. Yes, you are. But you're going to see some dead leaves as well. Because here again, bacterial leaf wilt has found the beans as well. So it started on the cucumbers, then it went to the kale, and now it's in the beans too. In all my gardening time, I've never seen it do that. I've experienced it on cucumbers before. Never on my beans or my kale or other greens till this year. But these are the rattlesnake pole beans. You can see by the coloring. See the purple streaks? See them right there? They're a beautiful bean. And quite tasty too. Now these are intermixed with some of my own cross-pollinated beans that I've been trying to grow off. You can see one in the pod right there. And right there. No purple stripes, like the rattlesnake pole beans there. So yeah, I first planted my rattlesnake Kentucky Wonder pole bean cross here, and the germination rate was pretty poor. So I came back in and planted the Haas Tools rattlesnake pole beans as well. So there's mine in here and rattlesnake pole beans from Haas as well. But it's quite easy to tell just by how the pods look. I mean, there's the rattlesnake. Here's mine. And what I've decided to do this year with the beans, I may eat a few, but my seed is low. So I'm thinking I'm just going to let them grow and let them set their pods and dry on the vines for seed for next year. Our red lunchbox pepper plant, well, it too has been supper time and breakfast time and lunch time too for the army worms, as you can see. But one thing to note is spider mites, thripes, and army worms too so far have not liked this pepper plant here too. And you can see the size of these. Yep. This is a hot pepper. And for the life of me, I forgot what it was. I'll have to put a little tag in right here in the video to let you know and me know what it is again. But it's starting to load up on peppers, and they're starting to be everywhere. I don't eat much hot peppers anymore. I like a little bit of spice, but I don't like a lot of heat to where it burns my mouth. You know, I'm not into proving how big of a man I am by how hot of a pepper I can digest. I always thought that was a little bit crazy. My daddy thought that was a thing. He always tried to get us boys to eat hotter and hotter peppers. And he'd come up, well, you know, to put hair on your chest, real men do it. And all I could say, well, I guess for today, I'm not a real man. I must be a fake one too. Yeah, it was a thing back in the day. But this here cucumber plant, it's seen about it all, but it was a real producer. And it's still trying to hang on, got new growth, but it's a sickly, raggedy looking thing. Yes, it is. And this was the Burpless Bush hybrid by Bonnie. There were 2 plants here, and they produced a many of cucumbers. I'm thinking about 50 or more. I didn't really keep close track, but they were everywhere at one time. You know, I'd come out here every couple of days and pick 8, 10, 12 or more. They were tasty. And there's still some in the cucumber basket on the counter in the old country kitchen. Ooh, look at this. This is sweet banana pepper. And look at how beautiful these banana peppers are turning as they ripen. Ooh, I'm gonna come out and get one of them in the morning, and I'm gonna chop that up with some fresh onion, saute in my pan, crack some eggs, scramble them up. I'm gonna have me a nice pepper and onion scramble in the morning. And this just will go to show you how much rain we had just yesterday afternoon. Over 2.5 inches just yesterday. The day before that, I think, was 1.5 inches, and then 1 inch, 7/10. Yeah, we've been getting the rain, but with this here sandy loam soil that I have, you know, it's supposed to be the perfect kind. Well drained, they say. No, it drains really fast. And then the very next day, you're toting water all again. This is another sweet banana. It's got some peppers starting to ripen up. Got to get them off there. And that's one thing to note. If you let your peppers fully ripen on the plant will shut down. That'll be the end of its setting blooms. Before it is accomplished its goal. Veggie plants have all but one goal. They're not there to feed you or the universe. They're there to reproduce and carry on the species. And once they've accomplished that task, they're through. So bear that in mind. That's why I've got to get out here after y'all head off for the day and do some picking. I can see I'm a little behind. But so far, it's still setting peppers. So I still got time. But yep, this planting looks rather rough. I've got to sit down and think what we'll be doing, because this will be coming out what we'll be up planting in that space for the fall garden to come. Because here in the deep south of Alabama, there's time for a fall garden too. In fact, except for the Arctic blast, we pretty much grew throughout the year last year. The garlic we had that sprouted and we just stuck over here for fun, some of it's surviving, some of it has just burned up alive, even though I've watered it. But that's the thing. Will it come back later when temperatures cool? Who knows? I mean, it was just going to go in the compost pile anyway. So anything I get out of it will be a plus. In our last little planting over here in the northeast corner of the house, of course, like always, we got some beans running up the poles. There's a baby, and there's a baby. Those should be rattlesnake pole beans, I'm thinking. And we lost the burpless bush hybrid cucumbers to the bacterial wilt a few weeks back. Yep, we had a service for them. But for whatever reason, the Bonnie heirloom straight 8 is still hanging on. She's looking rather ragged, but she's setting new cucumbers. And she's got a fine one there that needs picked today. Look at the difference between the two. This is the volunteer from the compost pile, and this is the heirloom straight 8 from Bonnie. Beautiful looking cucumber it is, and tasty too. But yeah, the winds got up a couple of days back, tore up our netting, and that's what you see there. It's all a mess. Can't do nothing with it without hurting the vine. So I just decided to let it go and let it do what it wanted to do. Yeah, we're pretty much cucumbered out, as you may suspect. Whew, yeah, remember to feed your feathered friends, as we do here, and you'll see a new addition. We got a squirrel hood here we had one and it broke off last year. But the squirrels have been quite prolific. I had 3 out here today, and they just knock all the seed out of the feeder, throw it down below, pick out the sunflower seeds, and head on their merry way. So I'm hoping the dome of doom for the squirrels keeps them away. Hey, we'll set up a camera and we'll all see. It should be fun. The fig, well, it's been doing mighty fine. I think I've gotten 20 figs off of it. Not sure how many the birds have. And it's still got more to come. And if the temperature falls and conditions are just right, it'll be setting more figs for the fall. There's one right there. There's one right here. One right there. And right there. There's more in there. You just have to look and see. Of course, you probably hear the mockingbird up behind me saying, those are ours. They're not yours. Yeah, well, there is the problem. Who gets them first? Me or the birds? I mean, you wait too late to let them ripen too much, and the birds will get them, and you'll be left without. But this year, I've been Johnny on top of it. I've been Tommy on top of it. And I know I've got more than the birds have got this year. But there's nothing wrong with sharing. You got to share with your feathered friends and your furry friends. And you can see who's holding down the fort and guarding the front porch by ever faithful Spooky. You hanging in there, Spooky? You enjoying that breeze? Yep, I feel the temperature falling too, which means the storm is about on top of us. It's coming in from the north again, Spooky. The winds are starting to raise. Oh, we don't need the wind, but we'll take the rain. So y'all, we did make it through a walkabout and talkabout across our entire plantings today. Something we haven't been able to accomplish the last couple of days because of the weather. And before the night comes, I'm sure the storms will descend upon my little piece of paradise here in the deep south of Alabama. But I hope you enjoyed taking a walk with me and listening to the old man ramble along on what he's got going on. But something I want to pose to you. Yeah, fall time's coming. And that's one of the greatest gardening times, especially for leafy greens. Collards, kale, mustard greens, radishes, cabbages, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, all those things. Check into it and start planting your fall garden now. In fact, depending on where you are, you may be a little bit behind. But pick wisely. Know your last frost date, or your first frost date, may I say, and count backwards. And if you got enough time to put in now and get it out before your first frost comes, hey, go ahead and give it a try. What you got to lose? It don't cost much but a packet of seeds and a little bit of time, and the reward can be so great. But it's starting to get busy around here, traffic and all. So, you know, until the kitty crew, you know them all, Cleo, Spooky at my feet, little Speedy, my princess, sometimes Heathcliff, which we got to catch on camera sometime soon, and little Gracie, our princess in the house. See you on that next episode and video of Mr. Tom's Neighborhood. Y'all take care out there. Stay safe, stay cool, stay hydrated too. Remember to take your vitamins, minerals, and electrolytes too. It's been brutal hot this year, but it's been hot before. And we've all come through it again. And will again this year too. So hey, y'all, remember to bless those. And may God bless you as you bless those in your lives. Goodbye for now. Yeah, Spooky, he loves the beef. He reminds me of that commercial. You know that little old lady back in the 80s? It was a Wendy's commercial. Where's the beef? Yep. Those were the days. I wish they'd return. Later, all.